Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Collegiate Rundown. And today we've got a bit of something new. We're going to be taking a look at the new conferences that I kind of created. Not a quick look, just a quick look at those. And then we're going to be doing the conference tournaments for a new college football tournament with every single team in FBS and FCS. And we're going to see also in some news, Notre Dame has just won the first game of the ACC tournament, taking down number 13 Georgia Tech. And other big news, we will be going to some of the ACC tournament games here at the Collegiate Rundown, but we cannot wait to get started with this one. So first, let's take a quick look at the conferences. Here they are, the Big Eight, got all the big Texas teams. And I won't read any of the teams out. I'll just explain who they are. Texas State got the Texas teams, TIAC, Texas Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, and they got the worst of the Texas teams. Atlantic 8, they've got New York, they've got New Jersey, they've got Connecticut. North Atlantic, same thing, lower division, and Champions Conference. All of the teams in those areas that do not play football. Northeast Conference, we've got New Hampshire, we've got Maine, we've got Rhode Island, we've got we have New Hampshire, and I believe we have Vermont. Yes, we do. And then in the Southeastern Conference of the SEC, we've got Tennessee, we've got Alabama, we've got who else do we got? We got Arkansas, we got Georgia, we got Louisiana, we got Mississippi, Alabama. And in the Sun Belt, just the lower division and the Biblical Athletic Conference, the lowest division of that South Atlantic Conference, just the south, basically the south of the ACC. We've got Florida, I believe, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and I believe that's all. Sunny Athletic Division, the lower of that Atlantic Sports Conference, the non-football conference. For that Mid-Atlantic Conference, Virginia, Maryland, and I mean, I believe DC is it? Yep, they are in. They're in the Mid-Atlantic, Chesapeake Bay, Eastern Intercollegiate Sports Association area. Yes, so that for these three, it's Virginia, Maryland, and DC. Then we got the Appalachian Conference. We got West Virginia, we got Kentucky, and we got Pennsylvania. And Eastern Divided Athletic Conference, bottom of that. And next up, we got the Great Lakes Conference. We've got Michigan, we've got Illinois, we've got Wisconsin, we've got Ohio, we've got Indiana, we've got Minnesota, we've got Iowa. And Midwest Conference, lower division of that, Midwest College Sports Association, non-football division of that. Great Plains Conference, we got Oklahoma, we've got North Dakota, we've got South Dakota, we've got Nebraska, we've got Wyoming, we've got Kansas, and I'm not exactly sure where Oral Roberts is, but I believe it's somewhere in one of those two. So Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. And in the Redwood Conference, that's just California, and that's the football division of California. And they have the bottom division of California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, or the SEAC. Then we got the Rocky Mountain Conference, BYU, Utah, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico, I believe. And then we've got the Northwest Conference, Washington, Montana, Oregon, and Hawaii. And finally, we've got the Ivy League, kept that together. Of course, Yale, Princeton, Cornell, Columbia, Harvard, Penn, Brown, and Dartmouth. And first conference that's going to play in their tournament, we have the Big Eight. And so here's how we'll get to how the conference tournaments were set up in a second, but for some of them, because some of them are not single elimination, but this one it's an 8-team tournament, so single elimination, and all the teams were randomized. The seating is completely randomized, not based on any specific thing. So in our first game of the collegiate rundown college football tournament, we've got Houston, and all of the games will be at a neutral site. We've got Houston and Texas A&M. And we're going to take away home field advantage. Here we go. And our final score, Texas A&M gonna blow Houston out of the water 33-7. And Texas A&M are the first winners of this great tournament. Next up, we got the 4v5 game, Baylor and Texas Tech. This kind of does feel like a 4v5 game and how close it may be. And here we go. And another 33, and Baylor the winner here. Texas A&M and Baylor will play in the semifinals. UTSA and SMU. Texas San Antonio, a weird name for that, and SMU, which they do not have a weird name for, facing off next. And UTSA gets a win. 28-17, first lower seed to get a win, first higher seed to get a win. Of course, the seeding doesn't really matter in this one. And finally, we got a big matchup, TCU and Texas. The Longhorns and the Horned Frogs, been a big game in the last few years, and it's a big game in this one. First round, will one of the college football playoff teams get knocked out in the first round? No, they will not. Texas drops 62 on TCU, and the Longhorns are certainly going through. 62-24. We've got our semifinal set. Number 5, Baylor. Number 8, A&M. Number 3, UTSA. And number 7, Texas. A&M Baylor up next. Should be a great game. Two very strong Power 5 programs. And A&M wins it 28-20. And Texas A&M in there to the finals. Will Texas make it to the finals with them? That would be huge. UTSA and Texas face off. And the Longhorns win 36-16. And that sets us up for a big old rivalry matchup. The Longhorns, Aggies, A&M, UT. Here we go. And A&M up 7-0, 14-3, 14-6. Sorry about the noise. 16-14 Texas, 23-14 Texas, 23-17, 30-17, 33-17, 36-17, 43-17, 46-17, and Texas runs away with it, 46-17. The Longhorns are the first team to qualify for the conference champion, first conference champion. And the first one next up, we've got the Texas State Athletic Conference. And this one's also going to be a single elimination. And we've got in our first game of that one, Sam Houston State and Incarnate Word facing off. And the FBS team loses to the FCS team 22-3. A big upset in the first one, Tarleton State and Rice. And Rice wins 17-13. They were tied at 10 late in the game, but Rice pulls away with it. Next up, we've got Prairie View A&M and North Texas facing off. Big game. Can there be another upset? No. North Texas puts up 41. Final score of 41-10. And Texas State hosts UTEP for only FBS matchup of this one. And UTEP wins 41-20. And next up, we've got number 4 Incarnate Word and number 8 Incarnate Word and number 4 Rice. Can Incarnate Word continue their run all the way to the conference championship? They can. Incarnate Word is going crazy. 31-6 over Rice. And finally, number 6 North Texas, number 10 UTEP. Here we go. Semifinals. North Texas wins 51-19. And that sets us up for Denton v. San Antonio, number 6 v. number 8, North Texas. The Incarnate Word. Here we go. Our second conference championship. And North Texas wins that one, 41-20. So North Texas will be the other Texas, one of the other Texas qualifiers. Congratulations to Incarnate Word. They put up a heck of a fight, but they will go down as losers today. That is unfortunate for Incarnate Word. Next up, we've got the Texas Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. Yep. And this is where it gets interesting. We've got a group stage system for conferences that don't have 8 or 16 or 4, but none of them have 4. So this will be a group stage, and then we'll have 4 of those teams face off in the semifinals. Next, first game up, A&M Commerce v. Houston Christian. First up, and Houston Christian may have to forfeit. And yes, they will. Houston Christian gonna forfeit. A&M Commerce gets the win. Doesn't help A&M Commerce. And next up, we've got Lamar and SFA. Stephen. Steve. F. Austin. Here we go. And Lamar going to win 13-10 in a defensive battle. Chris Escada. Could have made it 16-10, but it is 13-10. Lamar with the victory, looking to win this one. Next up, we've got A&M Commerce v. Texas Southern. Here we go. And Texas Southern wins 24-3. And Texas Southern will win again by default against Houston Christian. Then Lamar and Abilene Christian face off. And Abilene Christian scores 34 unanswered to win 34-3. And Stephen F. Austin v. Abilene Christian. If SFA wins, it'll be very interesting. Here we go. Simulation through. SFA wins 23-14, and now we've got an interesting situation on our hands. Let's see who goes through. And Lamar is through, and Abilene Christian is through. So lucky Abilene Christian with that type of point differential against Lamar pushing through. Stephen F. Austin, I'm not exactly sure they went out, but I believe. I'm not sure. Anyways, Texas Southern Lamar up next in the semifinals. And Texas Southern wins 24-3 on their way to the conference title game. And Abilene A&M Commerce v. Abilene Christian. And Abilene Christian wins 27-10. And we've got a big, good matchup on our hands. One that has not happened before. Texas Southern Abilene Christian up next. Here we go. Abilene Christian leads 7-0, 7-0, 10-0, 10-0, 10-7. And we're all tied up at 10. Texas Southern takes the lead, and Texas Southern wins it at the end, 17-10, 17 unanswered. And our third conference champion is going to be Texas Southern. And that's more brackets completed. Next up, we've got the Atlantic 8. And we've got, again, single elimination scramble. Yukon Buffalo. In our first game of the Atlantic 8 tournament, 21-6. Yukon is through to the semifinals. And Rutgers v. Colgate. Dum, 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 dum. Rutgers shuts them out 36-0. And it's going to be Yukon Rutgers in the semifinals against Army Albany. And Albany gets the upset 14-3. And Albany could be in the semifinals. Fordham, Syracuse. Syracuse looking to quite upset. Q and U Albany. Houston playing Fordham. Here we go. wins 41-10. And there will be an FCS school in the finals. Looked like there were four very obvious FBS winners, but no. And Yukon Rutgers. First game of the quarterfinals. And here we go. Rutgers wins 13-10. And that's a big win for Rutgers as they look to be the red team to get through Fordham and Albany. And final score, Fordham 9, Albany 6. Very odd score. But Fordham, of all teams, is on to the finals against Rutgers. And most people think Rutgers will blow Fordham out of the water. Let's see how it goes. Rutgers 7-0. Rutgers 7-3. Fordham 10-7. Fordham 17-7. Fordham 17-10. Fordham wins 17-10. Fordham of all teams. Oh my goodness. Beating Syracuse, beating Albany, and beating Rutgers. Not the easiest path to the finals, but boy, oh boy, did they do it. And Fordham are your Atlantic 8 Conference champions. Next up, we've got the North Atlantic Conference. And this one's group stage 1. And when there's an uneven one, the group stage is going to be uneven like this one. CCSU Stony Brook next up. And Central Connecticut State 20-10. And then Monmouth Sacred Heart. And it is a great March Madness in college football. Monmouth gets the victory 19-6. And then Marist Wagner is next. And Wagner gets the win 24-16. And next up is Monmouth LI. And Monmouth wins 28-21 at the end. Close game, but Monmouth comes away with the win. And next up, we've got CCSU Marist. (24-21) CCSU wins. And that pretty much guarantees them a spot in it. Stony Brook Wagner next up. If Stony Brook wins, I think Central Connecticut State is guaranteed. But first, we got Sacred Heart Long Island. And Louisville NC State up next. Here we go. And LIU wins 17-6. Let's see who's in. Monmouth's definitely in. And I think that puts Long Island in as the other one. as the other one from Group B. Still got 3 games to play in Group A. First up, we got Stony Brook and Wagner. And Stony Brook is shut out 9-0 by Wagner. And next up, we got Wagner hosting CCSU. Can CCSU sweep? And no, they can't. Wagner 13-17 victory. And finally, Stony Brook versus Marist. I believe this may be a sitting duck game. Let's take a look at the standings in this one. As Marist lost both of them, yes, and so is Stony Brook. So I think the results of this game do not matter, but we will still play it for the honor. And Marist 13, Stony Brook 6. But here we go, 75% of the way through, and we've still got the quarterfinal, and we've got the semifinals up next, Wagner and Long Island. And Long Island finally takes down Wagner 19-6. And Wagner was 3-0 in tournament play so far. So a pretty massive loss, if you ask me. And next up, we got CCSU Monmouth. Big game. And Monmouth wins 17-28. Monmouth won against Long Island in a great matchup in Group B. And now they face each other in the finals. Long Island, Monmouth next. Bum ba-da-dum bum. Ba-da-dum bum 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 bum. Long Island 7-0. Tied up at 7. Tied at 7. Jaden Sheridan touchdown Monmouth. Monmouth wins 7-14 in a close game, but Jaden Sheridan makes sure Monmouth gets the W, and Monmouth goes through 2-0 in group play. Wagner was 3-0, but they both lost, and Long Island 1-1. And here we go. Next up, we've got the Northeastern Conference tournament. Should be fun. And I believe, yes, since this one does have 8 teams, it is a normal tournament. First up, we've got UMass and Merrimack. And Merrimack gets the upset over an FBS team. Boy, is this a crazy tournament season. And Rhode Island, Boston College will a Power 5 team fall again. Oh my God, they do 20-40. The FCS is rolling early. Bryant and Maine next up. And Bryant wins 31-20. All FCS so far. It will be fully FCS. The FCS's only other hope was Boston College. They lose. And Holy Cross, New Hampshire. Next up. And Holy Cross wins 20-10. And in our semifinals, we've got Merrimack and Rhode Island, the two Power 5 upsetters, facing off. And Merrimack's your winner, 16-7. Holy Cross Bryant. Two very good teams, legitimately. And Holy Cross, the winner, 35-21. And in the finals, we've got Merrimack and Holy Cross facing off. And Holy Cross is going to shut Merrimack out. And boy, is that a statement victory for Holy Cross in the Northeast Conference tournament. And that is pretty massive for Holy Cross. Let's take a look. And next up, we've got maybe the biggest tournament of them all, the SEC tournament. And boy, is this gonna be a good one. Dun, 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 dun. First game of the SEC tournament in the Sweet 16, Mississippi State, Georgia. Here we go. Will the Bulldogs get upset? No, they will not. 48-20. And next up, we've got Troy and South Alabama, a nice little group of 5 matchup there. And your winners are the South Alabama Jaguars, and was not even close, 47-10. Vanderbilt Jacksonville State, one of the better games on this roundabout. It should be interesting. Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks blow Vanderbilt out of the water, 30-3. And Alabama, Louisiana. Will Alabama be upset? Everything on the line in Champ Week. No, they will not. 31-17. Everything on the line. LSU Memphis next up. Here we go. And LSU 59-31. And Memphis going packing early. Ole Miss Auburn. And Auburn 27-9 and gets the upset. SEC in an SEC current SEC game. And next up, Tennessee and Georgia Tech. Will the Vols get in? And they lose at the last second. Aiden Burr gets the kick, and Georgia Tech wins 20-17 over my Vols. Sad loss for Tennessee. Big win for Georgia Tech. And Arkansas and Tulane is the final game of the SEC round of 16. And Arkansas gets the win. Is Casey Glover, as Michael Pratt just can't come up with the victory on the final drive of the game. 24-22. And next up, South Alabama, Georgia. Everything on the line. We will. Do you think, Bob, that we'll see a bit more effort? No, we will not. In my opinion, should be interesting. And boy, do we not see effort? 66-10. I guess Georgia's just too good into the semifinals. Already next quarterfinal game, Jacksonville State via Alabama, a little in-state rivalry. For those of you who don't know, Jacksonville State is actually in Jacksonville, Alabama. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Crimson Tide have lost to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks in overtime. 52-48 in overtime. Holy cow! The Gamecocks are in the SEC semifinals. LSU Auburn up next. LSU wins 35-23. And Arkansas v. Georgia Tech. We're going to have our predictions for each tournament in the future. Georgia Tech 38-21. The not the Georgia, the Virginia Tech Hokie, the Georgia Tech, not even Yellow Jackets, excuse me. Two Georgia teams, Jacksonville State and LSU in this one. Jacksonville State and Georgia. Jacksonville State takes the first lead of the game. Georgia 7-6, Georgia 10-6, Georgia 10-9, Georgia 16-9, tied at 16. Georgia 19-16, Georgia 26-16, 29-16, 29-19, and Georgia wins, but credit to Jacksonville State keeping the fight in it to Georgia till the end. 29-19. Well, you look at Georgia, boy, did they have it easy getting to the finals. They could have had Bama, but instead they had Jacksonville State. LSU and Georgia Tech both have proved themselves against quality opponents this entire time. And so this should be a very interesting one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And LSU 59-17. And in the finals, we've got LSU and Georgia. Biggest game so far. And I think Georgia has what it takes. And LSU just going to come so short. LSU definitely deserves all the credit they've had. They've played quality opponents this entire time. Started with Memphis, then Auburn, then Georgia Tech. Georgia 10-3. Georgia 17-3. Georgia 17-10, 24-10, 31-10, 31-13, 31-20, 38-20, 41-20, 41-23, 44-23, and Georgia wins it. Congratulations to the Bulldogs, 44-23. Respect to them for everything to LSU for everything they've done, but Georgia just too dominant. Jacksonville State's run will be remembered by their fans for a very long time. And now we have our second to last tournament of this episode. We've got the Sun Belt Conference. This one also a 16-team single elimination tournament. Number 1 Mercer, number 16 Georgia State. Next up. And Georgia State gonna win 14-10. And Georgia State will be the first team to qualify for the quarterfinals. UAB Central Arkansas. Next up. And Central Arkansas beats UAB 34-24 in a big win for the Bears as they are the an FCS team to qualify for this one. Would not be surprised if an FCS team wins one of these ones. The strength of some of these FCS teams like Austin Peay. But next up we got Southeastern Louisiana and Georgia Southern. It's Southeastern at Louisiana wins it 13-12. And next up, Southern Miss and Austin Peay. Face off. And in overtime, Austin Peay wins it 17-13, the Governors. And 3 FCS over FBS wins in a row. And finally, an FBS v FBS game, Arkansas State versus Louisiana Tech. And LA Tech wins it 31-20. And Louisiana Tech becomes only the second FBS team to advance. 3 FBS teams so far. ULM and Samford gonna face off next. Louisville really playing well against NC State. Samford wins this one. Oh my goodness. 29-14. And 4 FCS and 2 FBS teams. Nicholls State v MTSU up next. And MTSU wins it 22-6. And finally, Chattanooga v UT Martin, Tennessee matchup. And UT Martin beats the Mocs 23-21. Big win. And let's take a look. 5 FCS and 3 FBS teams in the quarterfinals. Central Arkansas, Georgia State up next. And Georgia State wins 20-10. Southeastern Louisiana v. Austin Peay. Winner guaranteed. The first FCS team in the conference quarterfinals for this one. And it's the Governors 34-24. And now 2 Tennessee teams are guaranteed to be in the semifinals. Next up, we've got Samford and Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech wins 34-17. And next up, we've got MTSU v Tennessee Martin v UT Martin. Winner will be the second Tennessee team in the quarterfinals. It's UT Martin, 21-10. And the UT Martin Skyhawks and the Austin Peay Governors have a chance to make it a Tennessee v Tennessee FCS final. And first up, Austin Peay v Georgia State. And Georgia State wins it 27-17, ending Austin Peay's run, in which they did only beat Southern Miss. I'm not surprised, but UT Martin's had to beat Chattanooga and Middle Tennessee State. Louisiana Tech, UT Martin up next. Here we go. And the Skyhawks, just at the very end. Louisiana Tech, Hank Bachmeyer to Keldrick Moody, 26-yard touchdown at the end of the game, 17-14. And the FBS makes it out of there unscathed. Louisiana Tech v. Georgia State is up next. And Georgia State wins it 34-15. Not even close. And the 16 seed has won the last two tournaments. And next up, we've got the aptly named Biblical Athletic Conference, which is a 15-team group stage. So, boy, will this be interesting. Mississippi Valley State and Northwestern State are our first game. And Northwestern State wins 23-10. And next up, Southern v. North Alabama. Here we go, big game. And Southern wins 13-7. And next up, we've got Arkansas Pine Bluff v. ETSU. East Tennessee State, here we go. 17-6. And next up, McNeese State v. Kennesaw State. And Kennesaw State 14-3. Victory in that one. Next up, Alabama State versus Tennessee Tech. If you would like to go past this, I will put in the comments, in the pinned comment, where you can skip past the Biblical Athletic Conference group stage. And Alabama State wins 23-3. And next up, Alcorn State v. Tennessee State. Two similarly named matchups. And Alcorn State wins it At the end, 24-23. And next up, Grambling v. Jackson State. Jackson State wins 17-7. Southern v. Alabama A&M. And Bama A&M wins 14-3. And next up, Mississippi Valley State v. Arkansas Pine Bluff, our first two teams that have played already. And Mississippi Valley State wins for the first time ever, 17-3. Next up, North Alabama v. McNeese. And the winner is unknown. McNeese, 13-3 over North Alabama. Next up, we got Northwestern State and Alabama State. Alabama State wins 27-7. Next up, we've got Tennessee State and Kennesaw State. And the winner of that one is Tennessee State, 20-0. And let's take a look at the standings so far. Alabama State on top of Group A at 2-0. And Alabama A&M and Alcorn State on top of Group B at 1-0 each. Grambling v. East Tennessee State. And the winner is ETSU, 7-6. And Southern v. McNeese State. McNeese playing a lot already. And a little game sim is taking a bit, so give you commentary. NC State goes up to the basket and in. And finally, Southern wins 16-6 over McNeese. Jackson State v. Tennessee Tech next. And the winner is Tennessee Tech, 10-7. And next up, we've got Alabama A&M v. Alcorn State. And the winner is Alcorn State, 23-21. And next up, Mississippi Valley State versus Alabama State. And the winner is Alabama State, 41-3. Pours it on. And next up, North Alabama v. Tennessee State. Still no overtime. Of course, we will put in the score, but it will be denoted as a draw. It goes to overtime. Tennessee State, 20-3. victory there. And keeping a look at the standings, Bama State now 3-0. And Elkhorn State on top of Group B is the only team without a loss. Arkansas Pine Bluff beat v Grambling. 29-0. And Arkansas Pine Bluff falls to 0-3. And next up, Southern University v Elkhorn State. And the winner is Alcorn 38-7. And next up, we got Northwestern State v Jackson State. And the winner of this one, we got Jackson State shutting them out 24-0. And we've got McNeese State and Tennessee State. And the winner is McNeese State 13-0. And next up, Tennessee Tech v ETSU, the Tennessee battle. And the winner is ETSU 17-7. And next up, Alabama A&M v Kennesaw State. 24-0. Bama A&M with the victory. And Alabama A&M is now 2-1, sitting in the 2 spot in Group B. And we're about halfway through with this one ish. And let's take a look. Next up, we got Mississippi Valley State and Grambling State. And Grambling wins 34-0. A lot of shutouts in this one, as the teams have been here for so long. Southern v Tennessee State. And the winner is, after double overtime, Southern wins 24-20. But it will be a draw. Under the rule book, so not important, but Southern gets the respect of that hard-fought victory. Alabama State, Jackson State up next. 17-14. Jackson State victory. Next up, Alcorn State, Kennesaw State. And Alcorn State wins once again, 20-14. They are on top of it at 4-0. Arkansas Pine Bluff beat Tennessee Tech. Forty-one 13 Tennessee Tech wins. Arkansas Pine Bluff is now 0-4. North Alabama v Alabama A&M. And Alabama A&M wins 27-9 over their rivals in the North. And next up, Northwestern State v. East Tennessee State. And the winner is Northwestern State 13-10. And ETSU falls from the top of Group A to now being in the three-way tie at the top with Jackson State and Alabama State. Southern v. Kennesaw State up next. 17-10, Kennesaw State wins. Next up, Mississippi Valley State v. Jackson State. And overtime, Jackson State victory, 20-16. But that will be again counted as a draw. So Jackson State will stay on the top, but a win by Tennessee, East Tennessee State and Alabama State would put them above. So a big loss for big, I guess you could call it loss for Jackson State. And NC State on a roll gets the dunk, and North Alabama Alcorn State up next. And the winner is Alcorn State, but in overtime. And the teams are just so tired and all the games are getting even. We've got 2 draws in a row. And next up, Grambling State v. Tennessee Tech. And 41-10, Grambling State victory. And next up, Alabama A&M v. McNeese State. And the winner is Bama A&M 49-7. And only 3 more games to go in Group B. And I think that we have our 2 winners now with that victory by Alabama A&M. Yes, I do not believe that Bama A&M can be knocked off, and neither can Alcorn State. So Alabama A&M and Alcorn State, congratulations on making it to the Biblical Athletic Conference Championship. And here we go. Alcorn State and Bama State, East Tennessee State up next. And the winner is Bama State 13-0. Big win for Alabama State. Next up, North Alabama, Kennesaw State. And the winner is Kennesaw State 28-0. Bit of a fall from grace for North Alabama, going 0-1-5 to finish out. Next up, we've got Alabama A&M and Tennessee State facing off. Double overtime, Tennessee State gets the win, but it will go down in the books as a draw. Well fought battle by Tennessee State, but it will end in a draw. And oh yeah, Northwestern State UAPB next up. And the winner is Northwestern State 20-14. And next up, Mississippi Valley State v. Tennessee Tech. And Mississippi Valley State wins 23-17. And that puts Tennessee Tech second to the bottom, even though they're only 2 wins from the top. And our final game of Group B, even though it's all set in stone, McNeese State v. Alcorn State. Alcorn State going through, and they win. Good confidence booster for Alcorn State as them and Alabama A&M are going through. Alcorn State 5-1-0, Alabama A&M 4-1-1 at the end of it. And we've got 7 more games to play in Group A. First up, Jackson State v. ETSU. Here we go. And the winner is Jackson State 12-6. We're going to enter that. And then with the final 6 games coming up, we're going to take a look at what's at stake here. Jackson State with 4 games played in the lead at 4-1-1 and a plus 40-point differential. Jackson State does play 1 more game. So here's the situation. Jackson State win and in. Alabama State plays 2 more games. Alabama State wins and in. Now here's what happens if those 2 lose. East Tennessee State is, I believe, eliminated from competition. Yes, they are. But for Grambling and Northwestern State, they play next. And the winner of that one will be 1 game within those. And let's just say Grambling State wins it. Then their game against Alabama State will be a win and in for the 2 teams. So very interesting to see how this one plays out. Biggest game of it all. Northwestern State would then, if Northwestern State wins, then they would then need Alabama State to win, and they would need to beat Tennessee Tech. Here we go. Northwestern State, Grambling State. Loser is eliminated from a contention. And the winner is Grambling State 33-7. And that sets up a win-and-in game with Alabama State coming up. Arkansas Pine Bluff v. Alabama State. I mean, if Arkansas Pine Bluff wins, which they do not, Alabama State wins 52-0. Now let's look at this again. Whoopsie. 0-52. And now we look at this. Grambling State wins. Who do they have the plus? Yes, they need to win by 22 or more against Alabama State, or have Jackson State lose to 0-6 Arkansas Pine Bluff. Mississippi Valley State versus East Tennessee State up next. And we've been here for almost a week now, and boy, has it been wonderful. ETSU wins 21 10, I believe, to see all these teams. And Northwestern State, Tennessee Tech. Up next. And Tennessee Tech wins 20-7. And finally, Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Jackson State. And this is a big game. Now remember, if Jackson State loses, then Grambling State wins tomorrow. Jackson State's out. If Jackson State wins and Grambling State wins by more than 21 tomorrow, then they're in. And let's take a look. Jackson State wins 36-3. And that sets up a tough situation. Here's the situation for Grambling State. Win, both are 5-2. Point differential is the tiebreaker. Bama State, Grambling State. Everything for this. Even though this is just the final group stage matchup, I think it feels like a championship to some of these. Grambling State 3-0. Grambling State 10-0, 13-0, 16-0, 19-0. And they cannot do it. 19-0, but it will not be enough. One kick more, and they would have won. But they don't. No, they do. They win. Grambling State wins, and they're in. And that sets up our semifinals. We've got Jackson State. Never mind, I forgot that there could be points against. Oh my goodness. What a finish, and we've moved to the finals. And if you're just joining us, Grambling State just defeated Alabama State and went on to the championship at 5-0-2 in a huge game. Jackson State, Alabama A&M up next. Jackson State 14-3, 14-3, 21-3. And Alabama A&M is on to the finals 21-3. Grambling v. Alcorn, HBCU rivalry. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 14, 7, 21, 7, 28, 7, 28, 7, 28, 14, and Alcorn State wins 28, 14, and Bama A&M v. Alcorn State. Alcorn State won the head-to-head 23-21. And can they win it again? Alabama A&M, Alcorn State. It all comes down to this after more than a week of battle. Alcorn State takes the lead. Bama A&M takes the lead 7-6, 14-6, 71-6, 21-13, 24-13. Safety 26-13. 33-13. Bama A&M wins it 33-13. And our final tournament of the night, Bama A&M wins it 33-13. Thank you for watching the Collegiate Rundown. And we will be back for more tournaments soon. Thank you again for watching the Collegiate Rundown.